As anyone who's ever tried to make a cat take some medicine will know, sometimes harmless and innocent looking things can have a dark and violent side. On a related note, does anyone have any bandages? No? That's cool. The same is true of video games, where seemingly innocent games can take unexpectedly dark twists, turning the sunny experience you were expecting into a harrowing ordeal that you probably weren't prepared for. Not me though, I'm continually prepared for horrifying ordeals thanks to Mr. Whiskers. You can prepare yourself though by checking out these 7 innocent looking games that are quietly super messed up, and beware spoilers ahead for the following games. Oh god, he's back!
Back in the 90s, arcade racing games like Daytona USA and Sega Rally were generating more dough than a bread factory. But the problem is, after tackling stock car racing, open wheel racing, rally racing and GT racing, they were running out of racings, so they had to look further afield. Then one of Sega's game designers, who had perhaps been watching episodes of wildly popular TV show ER, came up with Emergency Call Ambulance, which sat you in the driving seat of an ambulance on the busy streets of Chicago. On the surface, this seems like a great idea for a video game. After all, ambulance drivers are heroes, and games love making you feel like a hero. The slight snag is that arcade games are designed to make money, and to do that, they have to be difficult. In Daytona, if you fail, you lose the race. In Emergency Call Ambulance, if you fail, people die. It's never worse than in the very first mission, the one that literally everyone who puts money in this machine will play. It begins with a horrific car accident and an injured 10-year-old boy named Jack being pulled from the wreckage by his dog. Was there not a more qualified human being available? Then the game properly begins, with you behind the wheel scything through traffic to get to the hospital. Meanwhile, various interface elements show that little Jack's health is depleting and his heart rate is spiking as you watch the medical staff in the back of the ambulance literally defibrillate him. So amazingly f***ed up. Successfully navigating the chaotic routes in the game involves a good deal of trial and error, meaning that 99% of players will end up colliding with traffic or a lamppost, failing to make it in time, and killing a 10-year-old boy.
I don't want to die!
No, Jack, don't go towards the light. Still, as a strategy for making money from an arcade machine, it's genius, because you'd better believe people are pumping in another coin so they can save that little boy. After a potentially harrowing few tries, you'll make it to the hospital, at which point the child is rushed into the emergency room, followed by his dog, which seems unsanitary. Though, based on the dog's level of competency at the scene of the accident, he's probably about to scrub up and perform keyhole surgery.
Okay, men. I'm going to brief you on the basics of being an agent. Don't let me down!
Elite Beat Agents is a rhythm action game that puts you in charge of a squad of extremely intense male cheerleaders who appear to be part of some kind of federal agency. Your tax dollars at work. The premise of the game is that throughout the city, people are struggling with seemingly overwhelming problems, such as trying to direct a movie or being a dog. Eventually, their problems get so overwhelming that they're left with no choice but to call for the Elite Beat Agents Cheer Squad, who arrive on the scene to rhythmically encourage them to the strains of bouncy pop songs. As you can imagine, it's a very upbeat and funny game, so you probably won't be expecting it when Mission 12, A Christmas Gift, comes along and a young girl's dad dies in an accident off-screen before the song even begins. What follows is a heartbreaking tale of a girl who refuses to believe her father is gone, cleaning the house for his return, making a cake for his birthday, and decorating the house for Christmas, all the while being cheered on in her activities by the Elite Beat Agents to these strains of Chicago's You're the Inspiration. Succeed in the song, one of the hardest ones in the game by the way, and the dead dad's ghost will return from the grave to deliver a Christmas gift of a new teddy bear to the girl before presumably going back to hell. Or heaven, could be either. That's if you succeed. Do badly, and as with all the other Elite Beat Agent songs, you'll see different worse versions of the scenes, such as this one, in which the mother and daughter find a photograph while cleaning the dad's office. Do well, and it's a nice family picture.
You should know, everywhere I go, always on my mind.
Do poorly, and it's a Polaroid of him flexing in a Speedo.
Everywhere I go, always on my mind, in my heart.
So, do well, I guess, is my advice.
Speaking as a pacifist, war seems to be the worst time it's possible to have, narrowly beating out all of high school. You wouldn't know it to look at games from the Advance Wars series though. This is a real-time strategy game about armed conflict, as the word wars in the title suggests, but it takes place on beautiful sunny days, your commander bios tell you if they like chocolate or not, and all your tanks are painted in bright primary colours. Not sure what sort of terrain bright red is camouflage for. Maybe when you've soaked the ground with the blood of your enemies. It's fair to say Advance Wars presents a heavily sanitised representation of war, and even when your troops are killed, rather than being torn apart by gunfire, they simply fly off the screen as if they've been carried away by a strong wind. So, playing such an ostensibly cheery game, it's almost easy to forget that it's about war. That's why the mission Toy Box in Advance Wars 2 is such a jarring surprise. In it, you play as the commander Olaf, likes warm boots, hates rain clouds, as he prepares to march on his old hometown. Initially, he's excited to see his old stomping ground. When he arrives though, the entire place has been destroyed, or at least as destroyed as Advance Wars 2's graphics can make it. And for the first and only time in the series, the game actively grapples with the horrors of war. It stops short of describing the streets as littered with corpses, but, you know, I like to think it's heavily implied. Once you've completed the Toy Box mission, Olaf talks again about the devastation to his hometown, the house where he used to live, and the remains of the town square where he used to play as a child. After the Toy Box mission, Advance Wars 2 progresses without ever really addressing this stuff again, but it does give the rest of the game a slightly different feeling as you imagine that actually this cheery graphical veneer is simply hiding a conflict that has cost the lives or displaced many people. But on the other hand, look how cute my tanks look, so it's probably fine. Right?
Something fishy's going on here, and I think I don't like it right now at all. It must have something to do with that scary, albeit fashionable hat. Sure looks evil. I mean, it's glowing red and stuff. Glowy red stuff is always bad. Everybody knows that.
Developer The Behemoth is known for its bright, colourful arcadey games such as Alien Hominid or its breakout hit Castle Crashers, an easy-to-follow game where it's always clear what's going on. As such, you might be expecting more of the same from their game Battle Block Theatre, particularly after watching the intro sequence, which is like a puppet show put on by an over-enthusiastic uncle who perhaps needs to switch to decaf.
Everyone was screaming like, "Help me! Splash! Splash!" And there was this huge whale like, "Wah!" and made it super scary. And I think there was a shark. Yep, there he is. Oh God! And then Hattie was all like, "Hold on to your butts! Land ho!" And bang, 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 smash!
Dig a little deeper into Battle Block Theatre's story, however, and it quickly becomes apparent that it isn't all puppet shows and paper cutouts of whales. In this opening cutscene, we also meet Hattie Hattington, captain of the SS Friendship, an all-round good guy by all accounts.
Hattie was like King Friend of Friendship Kingdom, best friend to one and all, and the walking definition of handsome gentleman.
But as soon as the SS Friendship crashes, Hattie is taken hostage by cat guards, and his fate isn't a pleasant one. He's press-ganged into being the new manager of the titular theatre and forced to wear a haunted top hat which, while stylish, is also full of the tormented souls of its previous owners, which overwhelm Hattie's mind and leave him an immobilised shell of a person with a blank, glassy stare and constant streams of tears pouring down his cheeks.
And what's the deal with Hattie? He just creepily looms around the theater all day. Look at him looming. It seems like he's been forcefully forced to manage this place. Well, it looks that way. He just sort of sits there. Just as productive as one can be. Yep, living life to the fullest. Whoa, slow down, buddy. Yes, sir, full of salt and pep. Full of pea and vinegar. Overflowing with youthful energy. Say something, Hattie.
And so the rest of this whimsical adventure continues, and every time we see Hattie he is motionless and crying as tormented ghosts overwhelm his mind.
Hold on a little longer, homie. We're coming for you. It'd be nice if you could meet us halfway, but you know, whatever.
Eventually you rescue Hattie, which is good, and he just lies there crying, which is bad.
But Hattie wasn't his normal jovial self anymore, children. He didn't say a word. He didn't even respond to hugs. Freaking hugs! He loves hugs. But he wasn't moving. He wasn't even blinking. Where's he gone to?
Before he is Weekend at Bernie's through the end credits before being dumped in the ocean, drowning, possibly, and then emitting a giant laser from his hat. Which, I mean, I wouldn't call it a happy ending.
In the kind of game where you kill people, which is to say quite a lot of video games, you tend to kill quite a lot of people, just by dint of sheer repetition. Even so, you'd have a tough time matching the body count of 2001's Aeronox, a fun, jokey sci-fi role-playing game with a cast of oddball characters, tonally not far from, say, Guardians of the Galaxy, except for the part of the game where your maverick scientist, Dr. Ro Bowman, appears to do a teeny little slip-up in the lab.
Doctor!
Oh, hell.
Oh, no! Oh, what?
Which goes on to cause a teeny little mass extinction event, splitting the world of Sunder in two like a planetary cheese wire. And killing all 6 million inhabitants in some of, not gonna lie, my favourite footage of scientists being chased down a corridor by an explosion of all time. For a game that is mostly quite silly and tongue-in-cheek, this is, needless to say, a lot. It is also a lot of deaths to have on your conscience, but having barely escaped the destruction of Sunder on a fleeing spaceship, our heroes are dealing with it pretty well.
Gentlemen, science was just set back 100 years.
Oh, cry me a river, sister.
And when their spaceship is disabled in the wake of the blast, leaving them drifting helplessly through the void, we're treated to a comedy montage of everyone getting cabin fever from being cooped up together.
Ha! That's 20 questions. You guys lose.
A total global apocalypse in which one of your party members had a hand is quite the springboard for the rest of this game. But still, we're left with the gang losing their minds because of the dirty socks lying around the place.
Look, you left a sock over there. Over there. Is it so hard to pick up after yourself?
Rather than losing their minds because of the 6 million dead people. Go figure.
Hey hunters, it's duck season, so that means we got a lot of first-time hunters out there. I'm gonna teach you how to use your shotgun today. All our shotguns come preloaded, so to start shooting, all you gotta do is aim it and pull the trigger.
Those old enough to remember the NES era will also surely remember Duck Hunt, a light gun game in which you and a sarcastic dog head out into a field for some sport shooting. Related, you're not allowed to shoot the dog. With its jaunty music and colourful graphics, one thing that Duck Hunt definitely wasn't was scary or sinister. Unless you're a duck, I suppose. Then it's a real horror show. With that in mind, you'd be forgiven for thinking that 2017 VR title Duck Season, a game with clear Duck Hunt influences, would be much the same, a light and breezy hunting game in which nothing horrifying would happen. Again, unless you're a duck. Then maybe steer clear. In Duck Season, you play a young boy whose mum rents him a copy of the eponymous game, which starts out as a much more graphically impressive Duck Hunt clone, complete with Dog Companion, although this one is a lot larger. No less annoying though. Play through the game normally and the game is as innocent as it first appears. You shoot a bunch of ducks, the dog dances around, and then you get a fun ending where you get a maraca. Decide to take a pot shot at the dog, however, and things take a much darker turn. Depending on the actions you take after this point, you can get one of several endings, all of which are darker than a windowless basement during an eclipse, and include you fighting a giant version of the dog with laser eyes, the dog coming into the real world and killing you with a knife, you getting trapped forever in the game world, and the dog murdering your character's mother, and the child having to bury her in the backyard and go on the run because the cops will never believe him.
I know they're coming to take me away, so I started running to see a new day. What is my reason? When is my time? Now is the season to leave it behind.
Man, I can see why Duck Hunt doesn't let you shoot the dog now.
What's up, Knuckles? Something bugging you? No time for games, Sonic. Give me the emeralds you have, right now!
As far as video game characters are concerned, they don't come much more widely loved and accepted by the mainstream than Sonic the Hedgehog. But in the late 90s, Sonic's original fans were growing into teenagers, and there's nothing less cool to a teenager than running around a saccharine, colourful video game rescuing cute animals. Well, nothing less cool except maybe anyone over the age of 25. As the 90s wore on, Sonic games were going to need to become a bit more edgy. Having somehow skipped releasing a platform-exclusive AAA Sonic game for the doomed Sega Saturn console, only a re-release of Genesis spin-off Sonic 3D Blast, Sega's mainline series follow-up to the cheery, pixelated platforming of Sonic & Knuckles in 1994 was the 1998 3D Dreamcast game Sonic Adventure.
Okay!
So that's 4 years between AAA Sonic games. I know hedgehogs hibernate, but that's ridiculous. Sonic Adventure gave Sonic a voice to go with the brand new 3D graphics, and in order to keep the teens happy, he was also given what I'm reliably informed was referred to at the time as a tood.
Oh yeah! This is happening!
So toodful. Am I using that correctly? The actual action of the game remains pretty family friendly. There are levels set on idyllic beaches, spectacular nighttime cityscapes, and ancient temples. It's pretty standard Sonic stuff, only in 3 dimensions, and in your downtime between levels, you can run around open world areas like a city called Station Square.
The train headed for the Mystic Ruins will be departing soon.
All very wholesome, until you reach the end of the game, when the introductory cutscene for the final level shows a heavily populated city, complete with children, dramatically flooding with water, with no time to evacuate, presumably killing tens of thousands of people. As if to confirm this, the final boss fight takes place in the flooded city, with water so deep it's clear that there will have been few, if any, survivors. I don't want to criticise Sonic's hero credentials, but a body count that huge seems like a fairly major L for the blue blur. But hey, you might be thinking, I can just play the colourful family-friendly stuff, then quit before the final mission, thus saving myself the trauma of watching a bunch of families drown. Well, Sega thought of that because they put the cutscene in the literal intro of the game as well, so everyone can see it. Too edgy! Too edgy! Can we make it... what's the opposite of edgy? Smoothie! Smoothie!
Hey, thanks for watching this video about innocent looking games that are quietly super messed up. I would like to recommend you a couple of videos, both of which are secretly really messed up. How? You'll have to watch to find out. It might not be obvious at first, in fact. But
rewatch it a couple of times.
Rewatch it a couple of times, but someone involved in one of these videos did something, and I won't say what it is, but they know. So see if you can spot it in the video. Oh god, the cat's back!